Mr. Louis Ng.
Sir, I stand in support of the budget. Sir, inequality has been a buzzword in recent years, and it is a positive sign. It shows that as a society, we're not just concerned about ourselves, but we are also concerned about those who have fallen behind, those who need our help. What is the best way to reduce inequality? The answer is ensuring social mobility and social mixing. In this respect, I agree with what PM Lee said in October last year. Quote, "We must not allow social stratification to harden in our society." Unquote, in Singapore, sorry. We have done well to ensure that there is less social stratification where we live. PM gave the example of our HDB towns, which mixes rental blocks with own blocks and have flats of all sizes within the same building. PM said, quote, "We want high and low income families to live together side by side, get along with one another, interact with one together, not live apart and treat each other as aliens from a different world." Unquote. But what about social stratification where we study, especially in our secondary schools? Students spend perhaps half or even more of their time in schools. In these environments, it is surely just as important that high and low income children learn together, play together, and mix with one another. So we have a very well-respected education system that many countries aspire to emulate. The recent OECD report titled Excellence and Equity in Education similarly shared many positive aspects of our education system and about how disadvantaged students here do well compared with their peers around the world. But as MOE has acknowledged, the report also showed that more work needs to be done to ensure good social diversity and mixing in schools. One of the things that might prevent social mixing and harden social stratification in our secondary schools is the practice of streaming. We introduced streaming in 1980, and I understand the rationale. It caters to the different learning needs and pace of our students, and it has helped to lower our attrition rates, which is now at less than 1%, compared to 30 to 40% at the start of our education journey. Dr. Intan also said in 2017 that streaming, quotes, helps teachers in being more focused in their teaching so that they are able to teach, to pitch their teaching content and pedagogy that is suitable for the students they teach, unquote. But the problem is that we're not just streaming our students based on their academic results. As Minister Ong has stated, quote, "Socioeconomic status has become significantly correlated with PSLE results," unquote. The reality is that students in a normal stream tend to have a lower socioeconomic status as compared to those from the express stream. We know that from 2014 to 2018, 69% of secondary school students who receive assistance from the MOE Financial Assistance Scheme were from the normal stream. We also know that the percentage of students living in public rental flats is higher in normal streams than those in express stream. We all know that we hang out with our classmates much more than with our schoolmates. What streaming has possibly done is to reduce social mixing and again harden social stratification. I spent the last year researching for this speech, filing questions in Parliament, and I spoke with parents, students and teachers. Everyone understood why we started streaming, but quite a number of them gave pause and raised concerns when I suggested that streaming could be stratifying our schools and preventing our students from mixing across socio-economic backgrounds. I'm sure streaming was not meant to divide our nation by socio-economic status, but we now see that streaming does contribute to it. We have tried so hard to prevent social stratification in our homes, we must try just as hard to do so in our schools. The next logical question is whether students move between streams. After all, if a normal technical student can move easily to the express stream, we could all afford to be less worried about social stratification. Unfortunately, we cannot. Each year, 530 normal technical students transfer to the normal academic stream. Of these students, only 10 to 20 of them eventually move on to the express stream. Here's what it means. If you're a student from the normal technical stream, you have less than 1% chance to move to the express stream. What's worse, the stratification continues further up the education ladder. Over the past 3 years, normal technical graduates have only made up about 5% of those who graduated from our public polytechnics and only 1% of those who graduated from our autonomous universities. Most finished their studies in ITE. Data provided by MOE show that ITE graduates earn a starting salary of 1,900 in the private sector in 2017. By contrast, public university graduates earn a starting salary of 3,300. Why do students from the normal stream struggle to move to the express stream? One reason could be the psychological barriers that streaming imposes on normal stream students. Minister Ng last year acknowledged concerns that streaming could inadvertently discourage students. Dr. Intan also said, quote, academic streaming tends to pigeonhole students and inadvertently places expectations about their intelligence or abilities according to the stream they are in, unquote. Indeed, for some students, there is strong stigma associated to being in the normal stream. One 2006 research paper titled Building Teacher Capacity in Curriculum and Pedagogical Design in Normal Technical Classroom, unquote, provided this summary, quote, perhaps the most common and injurious perception associated with NT or EM3 students is stupidity. Other negative perception of people interviewed on the streets are attitude not good, abeng type, hopeless, can't do anything, can't go anywhere, unmotivated, lazy and ill-disciplined. Some students may have even internalized such negativities. It is not unusual for students in the normal stream to blame themselves, leading to the worry that such students suffer from low self-esteem, unquote. The impact of this stigma was already raised in this house by Madam Cynthia Phua 9 years ago. She said, quote, the present streaming of students in secondary schools have much psychological impact on the youth. The normal stream is not normal, according to how the students and parents feel. They feel they are inferior to their academic better fellow schoolmates. And why do we have a system that makes our youth feel inferior at a young, tender age? Unquote. There are of course students from the normal technical stream who have done well, and we have featured them regularly. I met David Ho, and I'm so inspired by his story. David is the poster child of a successful student from the normal technical stream who has made it. He scored 110 for his PSLE. Today, he's an economics teacher at a junior college. David's success was almost not to be. His parents divorced when he was young, and he lived with his mother who was visually impaired. He went around selling tissue paper together with his mother to make ends meet. His mother passed on when David was 12. He did not do well for his PSLE and went into the normal technical stream. He fell into bad company and took up drinking and smoking. As he shared with the media, quote, I hung out with these people for a few months before I met the right ones, unquote. His new group of friends often hung out in the canteen to do their homework. They also helped to coach him in his studies. He had a dream of becoming a teacher and worked hard for his N-levels in hopes of eventually doing his O-levels. He did well and was one of the top scorers for the normal tech N-levels, but he was still not allowed to do his O-levels. Desperate, this 16-year-old wrote an email to then Minister of Education, Tharman Shanmugaratnam, who intervened on his behalf. It was only through this intervention that he was able to get past the system and eventually do his O-levels. David is a success story, and he worked hard to succeed. But as he shared with me, his story is also about how social mixing made a difference for him. While we share the success story, we also need to remember that David is not a representative of the majority of normal technical students. In fact, he is unfortunately a minority. While we celebrate the successes, we need to remember those who have been left behind. So it is time to eliminate streaming in secondary schools in favor of subject-based banding. I believe the debate we need to have has already happened. The concerns I raised today are the same ones students, teachers and parents and members of this House have previously raised about primary school streaming. In 2008, MOE listened to these concerns and replaced primary school streaming with subject-based banding. Subject-based banding kept the good parts of streaming while cutting out the bad parts. As Minister Ong shared this month about the replacement of streaming with subject-based banding in primary schools, quote, we believe that this has helped raise the confidence and motivation of students while customizing education to their aptitudes and pace of learning. He also added, quote, there are also more opportunities for interaction among students across the different subject combinations, as a form class can have students of several subject combinations. Concerns about labeling and stigmatization has diminished, unquote. Both teachers and parents have also expressed support for subject-based banding. It would seem strange that we did away with streaming and adopted subject-based banding in primary schools for very good reasons, but somehow these reasons do not apply to the secondary schools. We have already expanded subject-based banding to all secondary schools to benefit more students. So what is stopping us from abolishing streaming in secondary schools? What is stopping us from preventing this kind of social stratification? So there are schools that have made progress on this, and I hope MOE studies what Boon Lay Secondary School is doing, for example. Students there are grouped not based on their streams, but by CCA groups. This means that students of different socio-economic backgrounds are more likely to mix with one another. In 2018, the school reported that the new system has led to an increase in attendance rate and was met with a positive response by the students. I hope that MOE can study what this school has done. So MOE has worked hard to make changes in the right direction over the last few years, trying to steer the focus to aptitude instead of academic achievements and removing ranking. As a parent of young children, I am thankful for these changes and hope that we can do more. We have to do more. So there's a quote which reads, "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid." Unquote. There will be inequality in our education system. The fact is that not everybody is the same. But our students are not stupid and should not feel that they are or face that kind of stigma. We need to make sure that their future is not decided by one major exam. We need to make sure that where we live, we don't have social stratification in where we study. Every school is a good school, and now let's make every class a good class. Like our primary school, let's completely replace streaming with subject-based banding in our secondary schools. So I know that streaming is a sacred cow, and this practice has existed for many decades. Members of this house will know that I don't like to cow animals, but sir, it is time to slay this sacred cow.